Okay, I have this room for a short period of time, so I'm doing a bunch of these little, hopefully, well, this one's going to be a short little vignette, like 3 minutes. And that way they can be shared, and because people won't invest the time in 30 minutes and 20 minutes until they figure out who I am, or, fall in love with me, I guess. So what is evil and what is good? Everybody is capable of evil and good at the same time. We are all capable of creating evil actions and good actions, depending on how we interact with somebody else. We can choose to create good in the world. If we put forth positive actions, we're going to create positive results. It's the idea of the ripple effect or the butterfly effect that you find in economics. Our actions that we put forth are going to create some kind of reaction, and somebody is going to receive that action. Do we create positive actions and create a chain reaction of good that creates development and growth? Or are our actions going to create negative results, negative actions that create destruction and eventual death? So it's up to us to determine how our actions are going to affect another person. That is the very definition of free will. Yeah. If we look at our human behavior on the same chains of science of an ecosystem and everything being connected, what we do every single day matters. What we say to another person can affect that person's entire life. You talk about physical scars from abuse, but there's also the emotional abuse. And those scars are not seen. They're inside our minds and our bodies, and they're the things that end up determining the characters that we become later in life, especially with kids who are brought up under emotional abuse. They keep those scars buried inside, and you cannot tell an emotional abuse victim from anyone else. Rape, for example, is a type of emotional abuse. It is not only violating the person physically, it is also mentally assaulting that person and just completely demoralizing who that person is and destroying the identity of that entire person. These emotional abuse things that happen, whether it's a bully of your life, you could have a parent bully or a spouse bully or a childhood, one of your childhood schoolmates, they could be your bully. Those emotional scars of bullies are what determines how people end up being in adult life. People take those emotional scars with them. And if they don't find resolve, sometimes those emotional scars can turn into horrible things of needing an escape, feeling so bad about yourself and wanting to escape from reality, whether it's with some kind of substance or anything that would give you that euphoric feeling where you feel good. State of mind. No, don't lose faith in humans. So let me show you. We are all capable of good and evil actions. Here is how you determine what's evil. People are not evil. Our actions are what brings evil into the world. And if you look at those 7 deadly sins, they are the 7 actions that will create evil and death and destruction when it is seen in human interaction with each other. Pride, wrath, greed. We talked about greed before, money being a mistress that is insatiable. Power lust. Everyone says lust, but it's power lust. It's desire. It's desire to have something that somebody else has. Desire to have more. And power is a really big one, because as power lust at a government level means a lot of people are getting destroyed in those wars. The envy, gluttony. Gluttony, again, can either be food gluttony or it could just be wealth gluttony. It could be power gluttony, status gluttony. There's so many different levels of gluttony that can happen. And when people are gluttoning on a system, people at the bottom of that system are getting destroyed. And then, of course, lazy cheating. Whenever you cut corners, when you're not following the rules anymore, you decide you're going to do a quick access to wealth. That's cheating. And when people cheat, somebody loses. If somebody is cheating, somebody is losing. So how do you overcome this evil? Because we're all capable of these actions. We're all capable of pride and greed and power lust. These are the things that can motivate our behavior. We can have these motivations of our behavior and fall under this pathway of chain reaction of destruction that hurts people, affects their lives, and turns them into creates depression and creates all these obstacles and these horrible events that happen to them. Or We can overcome that evil with good. And our motivation can then be love, joy. Whenever you give something unconditionally, you get joy as a result. And you can see that joy actually glow on someone's face. It is an intrinsic value that is so overwhelming that it kind of overflows out of that person, and you can see that light of joy. Peace, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. When you forgive somebody, when you give compassion to someone, when you show compassion. I have a little podcast about the difference between sympathy and empathy. When we learn to empathize with each other rather than sympathize with each other. All of these things are going to bring down that evil, because those are the motivators of our actions now. Trying to see each other as humans, trying to find that level of companionship where we understand each other. You can have it too. I have it because I went through a lot of hardship. I went through a lot of stuff that most people don't. And that's how I gained my insight. And it's only through my faith that kept me strong. And in fact, this entire company I built is 100% faith mission. And it has cost me everything in order to do it. But I feel it's necessary because I'm not going to give up on this human spirit. I'm an artist, and it's an artist's job to always have the back of humanity. To show the good, to show the beauty. Yes, we show the ugliness too, but it's to teach a moral lesson. That we all are capable of being this way or that way. And we have to determine by our actions, the chain reactions that we create. So once we can do that, and with cyber, with this wonderful outlet of globalization that we now have with the cyber communities and cloud-based and all of this, as long as the governments are not able to control that and censor ourselves from being able to interact with each other, we could see a wonderful environment that's going to start developing with this transitional phase into AI, Internet of Things, cyber, that allows the 99% in the entire world population to finally have these conversations and say, what's it like over there? Tell me about your life. Tell me about your stories. Don't tell me about your government. Tell me about you. What are you going through? And that's what I love. I love those kind of conversations. And people would come up to me, just random strangers, and would tell me everything about themselves. And it's like, why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me that dark side of you? So I found that this was a natural thing was happening in real life. And I thought, well, what happens if I brought that into the cyberscape? And so with this company, we are actually creating a virtual augmented reality where we're allowing these areas of communication where people can come together. If you go to my Patreon, I'm trying to get it set up through these social medias. Eventually, I'd love to have like this programmer just create this virtual world for me. But for now, we're using the social medias that are out there in order to those communication collaborations that are out there. And we're going to create these global lyceums. And this is where we can come and talk about religion. And we're going to have, this sort of like cyber LARP play area. Oh, you like Socratic debates, but you like to have a little bit of the edge with Shakespearean insults? Awesome. Choose a character. Let's go. Battle of the wits. Having fun with each other, but also communicating with each other is going to help us see each other better than how we see each other now. And when we start having these conversations, when you feel free enough to share your stories. See, anybody can do this. Anyone can take a podcast and just tell your story. And the more stories that get out there, the more we see each other as being very much like. We all have these problems, and we all want to be able to take care of our families, and we can't take care of our families because we're not seeing any benefit of our wealth. We're being told that we have to satisfy with working way above our pay grade, way above this for crumbs, basically, while these other groups are profiting like mad off of our work, and we can't even keep our roof over our heads. I now see why people go into a lot of the industries that they do, especially the easy cash industries. It's very tempting because the other industries that are supposed to be good, they're not allowing you to make money. So it's this insight that's really useful and incredible. And I'm a scientist of humanity, so I will sometimes put myself into even extremes. I get in trouble, but I want to find out, what is it like? How can we fix this? How can we allow it so that people are now being able to take care of themselves, take care of their families? And I am here for the kids. Somebody needs to have those kids' backs because we are developing their futures now. Everything that we are doing right now is shaping their future that they have no say on. Somebody needs to care about those kids, and not just the unborn babies that, become these cash ventures for religious adoption centers and Chinese adoption centers, but the babies, the babies that are already born and are growing up into this, the little kids that are already born, the teenagers that are going through this now. Somebody needs to speak up for them because they don't have a voice right now. So I'm their advocate. I'm their corporate advocate. But when we start to see each other and we start to recognize that we're all capable, there's no such thing as a criminal stereotype. We can all become criminals very easily under an emotional stimulus that makes us believe that everything is morally justified, even though it's against the law. Everybody is capable of doing that, but they're also capable of doing good things. And it's those good things, I think, we're now at a point that people want to do. They want to find those outlets in which their actions matter. And your actions do matter. You are important. You are valuable. You are good just the way you are. That's something I want to teach you. I'm getting away from the whole, U.S. guerrilla soldier, blah, 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 because I've given you everything I've got. And I'm going into the healing aspect of it, because that's why I built the company to begin with. The hope, the empowerment, the love, the peace, the kindness, the unity, bringing us all together, and showing if we start helping each other, if we start supporting each other, if we start... if you have a community and you have stores in your community, if you don't buy the products in that store won't last and you'll have ghost towns. And if you have online community, if you're a store and you're trying to compete against a global audience, do you know how hard it is to compete on a global audience scale when you have no money for marketing or you have very little capital? It's near impossible. So if we support our local establishments, we're then able to take that money that they get, they turn that into taxes. We then benefit from those taxes, so you get a reciprocal economic system where the money is constantly being flowed back into the community. You support your stores, it flows back into the community. If you just throw the money out to, global institutions, that money is not coming back in because they're not charged in taxes. So you're just throwing the money out of your country, and then you're going to be depleted. So that whole local economy base, the idea is very, very important. If you go to the website, Retailers Protected Council, I think it might be org or com, it was a group that tried to save brick and mortar stores 5 years ago that I was part of. There's only like 5 of us. But this is where I learned a lot of that monopolization information. They still have their website up. All the information is there. It was ran by a GM of a domestic factory here in the United States, Eurotard, and also international factory, Julie French, and I think one other one. So he knows his stuff. He can tell you information from the international spectrum and also the domestic. And this is the guy I admired. He was incredible to work under. But it was just a volunteer organization, and we were trying to save the brick and mortar stores. This is where all my information comes from when it comes to monopolies, understanding property values, driving up store rents, because this is what was happening and this is what we were fighting against. So Retailer Protected Council, great source of information. They have this wonderful chart that'll explain a lot to you. I'm going to keep this short. We will talk later tonight.